Hello everyone, sorry if the camera is shaky or lopsided. This is a re-record of the longer dream that I had that I did not mention in my last video. The dream started out in another dimension. In this dimension I had an old married couple and they were my grandparents. They were not my grandparents in real life. I had a little girl that I was living with. The girl in the dream loved to read. The girl in real life would not pick up a book ever. And I had a light brown dog. And in this dream, we were really rich. We had short. I remember it being short specifically. A big house, and in the backyard of this house, it was really green. We had a lovely swimming pool, and right next to this house, we didn't have this, sorry. There was a military base, and it had a huge metal fence around it, and there were loudspeakers all around the entire base. While I was at the house, I was in the backyard, and I was like jumping in the pool, messing around. And so while I'm taking the photos, a bunch of like tiny weeny little pebbles fall down, and I'm like, what is that? And then they get bigger, and I'm like, oh wow, that's an asteroid. So at this point, a ton of asteroids are falling from the sky. And then 2 or 3 days later, it fast forwards, I'm in a different house. There's still the old married couple, the little girl, and the dog. They still had a lot of money, but we were in a different house. And I was looking out the window, and our other house had been completely like annihilated, destroyed. The green was gone, because the green before it reminded me of the Wizard of Oz. It was such a rich, gorgeous green. And now it was replaced with like grays and browns. And also, in this new house, it reminded me a lot of the White House. Like, there was a US flag in like every single room. There were like a ton of pictures of this couple. It was not my grandparents in the dream, it was a different old couple. Could have been the president, but I would not have known. And the outside was really ugly, and it was brick. Yeah. And as I'm looking out this window, asteroids start falling again, because over the span of 2 or 3 days, there have been a bunch of just asteroid spurs, like going everywhere, all over the place. And somehow they were able to build us a whole new house in the span of 2 or 3 days, because that tall house that I was in at this point, the military house, it was not there before. It was like fresh. So yeah, I'm looking out the window, bunch of huge asteroids start falling down, and I run out the house. I'm not looking for the grandparents, not the dog, not the girl. I'm just running out the house, not necessarily to see what's going on, but if an asteroid fell on the building, I was on the top floor, so it would not be good for me. So I ran out, and as I'm running out, I hear people over the loudspeakers saying that the asteroids are bombs sent by rebels, they said, which sounded like the Hunger Games, just calling everyone rebels. The military in this dimension was not like, they weren't computer whizzes. I knew in my spirit they were lying, and I knew in my spirit those were asteroids and not bombs. As they were coming from space, their gravitational field just pulled a bunch of asteroids, because they were in a huge spaceship. I saw this, by the way. I was looking up and I saw this huge spaceship with a bunch of asteroids surrounding it. And it was like, that part was like supernatural, because the gravitational field was huge and so strong about around this huge spaceship. Like, this spaceship probably could have been, like, the size of, like, a town. A small town. Like, it was big. And it was on its way down, pulling all of these asteroids, and everything was hitting the ground all around me. And I just knew at this point I had to get to the spaceship because the people in it needed saving. Like, they needed Jesus. So I was running through all these asteroids. I had to go through the military base to get to where the spaceship was on its way to land. And while I was going through the military base, the asteroids are still dropping. But now I'm seeing a bunch of military personnel, and they're just stone-faced as ever. And I had to act like I was one of them. Like, for a long moment, actually, my face was just, like, I was just straight stone-faced. And I couldn't necessarily run, but I was, like, fast-pacing myself. So I was still getting where I need to be. There are still asteroids coming everywhere. There's a bunch of yelling going on in the loudspeakers about rebels this, rebels that. There are military personnel everywhere. You hear a bunch of tanks rolling because they were getting ready to shoot the ginormous spaceship for some reason. Like, it would have done something. Like, you could tell that spaceship was... It was armed. Like, if they wanted to, they could have bombed the entire area we were at. But obviously they didn't, because all you had to do was look up, and you can see their asteroids. Even though they look like huge balls of fire, you can tell they're asteroids. They're not coming from the spaceship. Yeah, and then I finally get to the spaceship, and as soon as I get on there, there's like... It's like a scene from a movie. Like, there's people who are injured somehow. I think this is a guess based off of the Holy Spirit right now, and they might have had turbulence when they were coming through the, like, fields of Earth that they had to go through. So there's that. Like, there were literally people, like, injured, like they had, like, hit something, all the turbulence and crashing into things. So there was a bunch of stuff going on with that. But I mean, you could tell as soon as I walked in there, I could tell that everyone was in shock. They didn't know what was going on. I didn't know what was going on. I just knew that they needed saving. So I got on there and I went to go save some people. And that was my dream.